Trump is in the lead in the most recent poll. I'll just look at the last 2 days maybe. That's kind of mixed. Trump, Clinton. It's California and New York. So, they're pretty strong Democrat states. So that's hardly surprising that Clinton has a big lead there. The top poll is a general election. So it's looking at the entire country. So that's the kind of thing that I'm more interested in. So if that says Trump's in the lead, that's basically a suggestion that Trump's going to be president. My methodology of choice at the moment is looking at the bellwethers. So I'm interested in Florida. Clinton's in the lead. Nevada, Trump, and they're the bellwethers there. These are general elections, so mixed. One Clinton, one Trump. Now, I did click on the USC tracking. I mean, that seems a weird poll. It's kind of using new, latest technology. To me, that means unproven. I mean, I don't know the reliability, the credibility of what these guys are saying. I think Quintillion Group or something like that, they seemed a bit suspect as far as I'm concerned as well. Not that I'm, I've just clicked around online. So you could argue, those are dodgy articles that people have posted up, by rivals. So, the Clinton supporters have put those up to discredit. I don't know. But I just wanted to start by looking at the polls and how things stand. Now, at the moment, in the last video, I was turning more and more bullish on Trump. Because the bellwethers are the states that are the best predictors, that are most correlated. Like, they basically get it right. And their success rate is over 90%, each of them. And all four bellwethers were backing Trump. So to me, that means it looks like Trump's going to win. Next, I wanted to have a quick look at polls. Because, if I'm using those bellwethers, I'm relying on these polls. So, do they get it right? The bellwethers get it right in that if Ohio votes Republican, then 93% of the time we get a Republican president. That's not saying if the polls said it's going to be a Republican, So we'll only know once the vote is done which way the bellwethers actually voted. So now, just a quick look at polls. So it's pretty close. The margin of error is a couple of percent. It's not. It's not. So that's effectively tied. And you can see, remember, look at the gap at the beginning between them. I mean, it was huge. And now they're pretty much level. So what did this say? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is so the New York Times had also worked out that at the convention stage of all previous elections, a simple polling average across them has differed from the final day result by about 9%. So you'd need effectively the margin of error is plus or minus 9% after the convention stage, and so that means they're joint. Was there anything else of interest here? I'll have the links to these videos. It's kind of nice, or links to these articles in the description below the video. It's kind of handy because, you know, then if you want to go into greater depth, it's there. So from this, I can see that, okay, there's quite a lot of error in the polls. So you can't get too excited about, oh, this person's 2% ahead or 4% ahead. Though, and I hadn't noticed that when I'd read it the first time, it said the difference between when the conventions were over and the final day, as opposed to today and the actual election. So that's kind of helpful, but ideally I would have liked to have known, you know, the variation between today and the election. In another associated, I think this was linked in the previous one, or maybe it came up in Google search. It points out on the 2012 election day, Real Clear Politics, and actually that's the one I've been looking at. Remember back here, Real Clear Politics. So on election day, they found Obama was 0.7 of a point in the lead. So basically within error, so they were level. The actual result was Obama won by 3.9 points. So just to set the expectation and just so you know, okay, this is how accurate, this is what we can expect from polls. At the same time, it also mentions, oh yeah, I like this one. So blah, blah, blah. So not to challenge the Real Clear Politics average, because 4 years earlier, Real Clear Politics average was spot on. So it had estimated 7.6%, while the actual was 7.3. So Real Clear Politics is pretty good. I mean, if you could say, oh, they said it was within error, but they had said that Obama was 0.7% ahead. I also like the fact that it says, still the 2012 miss should remind us that polling isn't perfect, and even averaging a reasonable strategy can mislead. Averaging may smooth out outliers, but what if one poll always seems to be an outlier, like the Los Angeles USC tracking poll. Now remember, at the start, I was talking about this might be dodgy. So basically, this poll is mentioned in that article about always being an outlier. So if you want, you can say, the USC, we've got two polls with where Trump has a lead, but their methodology might be suspect. We'll know in time. These guys will build up a reputation. So maybe they're outliers, but were they right? I mean, it didn't mention that here. So basically, in 2008, when polls were saying it was a statistical joint heat, did the Los Angeles Times USC tracking poll say that Obama was going to win? You would say, they are an outlier, but actually they were right. So in 2012, were they right? Or are they more accurate than the average? So, it's complicated that way. So that's all I wanted to look at today. I remember saying yesterday that I wanted to just have a little look at polls, because if I'm basing my predictions, my forecasts on polls, then I should know a little bit more about them. So ideally I'd like to know that, say, these are the top 3 poll guys. So say random, because these are on this page. Say Field, Siena, Monmouth have actually tended to be really good, and they could actually spend a lot more money, take bigger polls, be very careful about getting a representative group that they are polling from. All those things cost money. At the same time, you could just do a quick phone poll where you just ring 500 people and then say, this is what I found out. Or even a Facebook poll. So, all polls are not equal. So I wanted to just look for one little bit at that, so that perhaps I could find some low-hanging fruit. Begin the process of maybe kicking out the ones that I felt were dodgy, maybe finding ones that are best in class. And what did I get from that? Well, the accuracy of the polls, like the polls will vary with time, because depending on what happens, people's voting will differ. Maybe more people will be energized to vote due to whatever happens between now and the election, or people will just be put off and go, actually, I don't want either of them. We don't know. So knowing that, it means that I would say that for all 4 bellwethers, effectively they're within error. So even if I'd have, Trump is in the lead, but it's not by 10 or 15%, where you go, that's well above the statistical error, which is probably maybe 3. So that's one thing. On the other, I'd go, that doesn't change my betting strategy, because I don't see how if all four bellwethers are basically within statistical error, how can you be so confident that Clinton's going to win? I mean, why does she have a 60-70% probability of winning when the data is saying it's too close to call? So I'm still happy with my my bet position. I'll see whether that needs to alter, and we'll see when the debates begin. They might change things if the markets really start crashing. And remember, they have actually been falling. If they do crash, that's going to be good for the new party. I mean, that's not going to be good for Clinton, who is more of the same Democrat. We'll see.